What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and welcome back to the 32-team 7-round mock draft series. And today we are taking a look at the team that currently, as of the 20th of March, holds the 8th pick in the draft, and that is the Chicago Bears, a team I claimed mid-season last year has a big-time opportunity to be the Philadelphia Eagles of 2018-2019. Now, a little bit harder of a division. You got Aaron Rodgers coming back healthy. You got the Vikings who brought in Mr. Kirk Cousins. You got the Lions who are always, just don't ever be winning in the fourth quarter against the Lions by a single score. But I do think in terms from where they were, in terms of just growth and development, I think the Bears are going to be a much more improved team. So before we jump into the mock draft, we need to look at their free agency period to try to lay the framework out for how we get after their mock draft. So looking at who they lost, they cut both of their players. It wasn't like they ran out of contracts. Pernell McPhee has left. He was a starting linebacker, and they lost starting offensive lineman Josh Sitton, which is a little bit odd because, if you're going for Pro Football Focus rankings, he was the best player, I think, on their team. But he was, a decent-sized contract, and they want to get it younger. So I understand that. Personally, I probably would have rather Josh Sitton on the roster because no matter what happens with the growth and development of Mitchell Trubisky into year number 2, you're still going to be a run-first team. So why not have still one of the best run-blocking offensive linemen in football? Don't agree with it, but I kind of understand where they're coming from. Look at their additions, though. They went in. They were able to re-sign Kyle Fuller and Cam Meredith and Prince Amukamara. So you got, not a whole lot of... With Amukamara, it's kind of like a band-aid in the secondary. I don't think he's their long-term plans, but for next season, he'll be fine. They were able to sign Allen Robinson to what is a very good contract considering the market and considering the upside. And for my opinion, he is the best wide receiver that was available in this damn game. In the game of football. That was available for this free agency period. I think that was very nice. They got Taylor Gabriel coming in from the Atlanta Falcons, probably one of the most underrated wide receivers on this year's market. To have Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel, Cam Meredith so far. We'll jump into the mock, see how it changes. That's a much more improved wide receiver core. And then you throw in Trey Burton coming from my Philadelphia Eagles. Trey Burton is going to be an absolute stud. Him and Adam Shaheen is going to be a nice tight end rotation. And Trey Burton is going to be, for fantasy football enthusiasts out there, a low-key sleeper. And they brought in Aaron Lynch from the 49ers. I believe he'll be an outside linebacker. Yeah, not bad. See what he can do. So that being said, let's jump into the mock draft. So in the first round, pick number 8, they are going best player available. They are debatably getting the best player in the draft, and that is replacing Josh Sitton with offensive guard Quentin Nelson from Notre Dame. He's offensive guard 1. As much as I like Kyle Long, I still think Quentin Nelson comes in and he can pick whatever side he wants. I remember Josh Sitton has a famous quote. It's like, what's the difference between playing left and right guard? He was like, well, it's like wiping your ass with the opposite hand. So there is a difference, but I think it's going to be, Quentin Nelson. You probably could just pencil him right in there to the left guard spot. Good. He's a perfect fit, and it's a need for the Bears. Going to the second round, pick 39. We are selecting defensive end Rasheem Green from USC. I think he comes in. He'll start out as defensive end 3 and can compete for defensive end 2 with my former Florida Gator in Jonathan Bullard. Now, Akeem Hicks is very nice, and a guy like Rasheem Green, he is one of the highest upsides out of any player in this year's draft class. I think year 1 will be a little bit of a learning curve. A lot of people thought he should have returned to college and come out next year where he would have been a bona fide, probably top 20 pick. Now you still get value in the second round. Somewhat set your expectations to a reasonable size for what you're going to get out of Rasheem Green. And I think going into next year, and this year he'll be a little bit productive, but I think ultimately looking towards next season, that is when he is going to reap the benefits and be an absolute stud. I'm a big fan of him. Going to the fourth round, they have 2 fourth-round picks. First up at 105, I'm selecting offensive tackle Alex Kappa from Humboldt State. Offensive tackle 3, his Senior Bowl was solid. His tape, from other people, this is like one of those things, how am I going to watch a lot of Humboldt State? I saw one thing on NFL Draft Scout, but looking at people that have actually scouted him, said he's one of the nastiest big maulers in this year's draft class. And when you look at the Chicago Bears offensive line, they don't have a lot of depth. Behind Charles Leno, not much. You got Bradley Sowell. Behind Bobby Massey, currently no one. So I think getting a guy like Alex Kappa, who a lot of people think will be a eventual starter, get him in the 4th round. He'll be depth probably at right tackle, and eventually you may get a starter out of this. Worst case scenario is a swing tackle. Going to the second 4th round pick, 115, I was selecting cornerback Nick Nelson from Wisconsin. I think he comes right in and can be cornerback 4, can help out in the nickel with Bryce Callahan. Ultimately, though, you're just getting a guy that's very, very productive. This guy had an insane amount of pass deflections, no interceptions in his college career. I think he had like literally 20 pass deflections last year, no picks. So that kind of comes up to like, does he have good ball skills or not? But the transfer from, I believe, Hawaii was very productive with Wisconsin. I think in the 4th round, it's a very good pick for a team that doesn't have a whole lot in terms of like the future at the cornerback spot. I think Kyle Fuller's their guy for now. They got him on a 1-year deal. I actually don't know if they re-signed him long-term, but either or, I assume Kyle Fuller's going to be there regardless. That's not my point. My point is more so Prince Amukamara does not look like he is in their long-term plans. He's more so the guy until they can eventually find a replacement, and I think Nick Nelson is a guy that, you know, could challenge for outside, could be nickel, brings versatility, solid pick in the 4th round. Going to the 5th round pick, 145. I have them getting a value pick here. Wide receiver Auden Tate from Florida State. It rhymes. It's hilarious. Big whoop. Want to fight about it? But looking at Auden Tate, he would probably be wide receiver 4, but he adds a dimension to this wide receiver core that they don't really have. You have Allen Robinson, who's like, you know, your more balanced wide receivers, can do it all. Deep threat, he's good size. You have Kevin White. We don't know what Kevin White is when he's healthy, but we do know he's fast, so you have that. You have Taylor Gabriel in the slot. You have Karen Meredith for your possession guy. But where's your red zone threat at the wide receiver spot? You got, you know, Adam Shaheen's a gigantic monster, but where is that big body wide receiver? And ultimately, I think a guy like Auden Tate, 6'5", pretty much built like Kelvin Benjamin if you've never seen him before. I think in the 5th round, he adds just a, you know, I always personally, you can tell by my mock drafts and how I talk about teams, I think complement receivers are what makes this league go around. Like, look at Philadelphia. Our wide receiver core was terrible. Then we got the possession guy, now Sean Jeffrey. We got the speedy slot guy, Nelson Aguilar. And then you got the guy that can separate downfield in Torrey Smith. And once we had that, you know, everything looked pretty good. It was a well-oiled machine. So I feel like getting that complete wide receiver core, having a bit of everything, a smorgasbord, if you will, and adding Auden Tate would be very good here for the Bears and Mitchell Trubisky. Looking at the 6th round pick, 181, another value pick. Either selecting edge, he'd be an outside linebacker in their scheme. Marquise Haynes from Ole Miss. I think he'd be outside linebacker 3. Not your typical 3-4 outside linebacker. Usually a 3-4 outside linebacker like 250. He's a little bit undersized, but I think when you look at him, the positives make him fit in a 3-4. He's a pass rushing specialist, and I think from that standpoint, he might be somewhat limited in a 4-3 defense. He's too small to be a 4-3 end, so I think he'd be an interesting option for them to put here at an outside linebacker. Maybe depth behind Leonard Floyd. You know, Sam Acho, probably a little bit of an upgrade. Just an explosive athlete that has, you know, somewhat limited upside. But I think ultimately he's a guy that you bring in on clear pass rushing downs and he uses athletic ability to try and cause some havoc for the opposing team's quarterback. So I like that here in the 6th. And then finishing up in the 7th round pick, 224, I'm selecting nose tackle Lowell Otulele from Utah. If he had a terrible year this year at Utah, going into this season, he was like pretty much like stocked in the same amount of hype, if you will, as Vita Vea, as like this guy here is going to be the top nose tackle. Had a very bad year, very inconsistent year at Utah, but last year, looking at 2016, he looked like a fringe 1st round talent. But so I'll say I'm sitting here in the 7th round. There's no depth right now at the nose tackle spot on the Bears behind Eddie Goldman, so I feel like you get a guy like here that if he can, you know, find his rhythm again, get back into you know, some solid momentum and playing good football and staying healthy, you could get maybe one of the best value picks of the draft class, and for, you know, a position that you really lack depth as it stands right now. So I think that's the Bears finishing out the draft by getting top nose tackle depth. So there you go, guys. That is my Chicago Bears mock draft. Do you agree or disagree with any of the picks? Let me know in the comment section below. If you're a Bears fan or just want to share with me your Bears mock draft, leave that in the comment section below as well. Special like blinking if you enjoyed. If it's your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.